Democrats live in the wrong places, basically.
Yeah.
They've decided to cram themselves in cities, and that just makes it really hard to have a winning coalition when your people do that. If you're college educated, if you want to work in the creative economy, you move to a city, and those places have enough Democrats already. Democrats need to make places like Des Moines or Columbus or Raleigh, North Carolina, cool so that those young people move there, but that's kind of outside the typical realm of political strategy.
Wait, what do you mean make Des Moines cool? They've already got the Des Moines Heritage Carousel, the most badass balls-to-the-wall carousel in the whole Midwest. And yes, according to their website, it is closed for the season of spring, which is not a good time for carousels. But when May 28th rolls around, it's going to be an all-out carousel fuckstravaganza until 8 p.m. But it is true. Democrats are basically packing themselves into districts, and that is not likely to change anytime soon. But there is a broader, non-partisan point here, and that is that in a democracy, the question of who gets to draw the map should not have as much significance as it currently does. Now, there is actually a Supreme Court case coming up involving a redistricting in Wisconsin that was so partisan, a lower court struck their maps down, and the Supreme Court may, for the first time, actually issue a clear ruling putting limits on partisan gerrymandering. So all of our hopes are now in the delicious claws of Justice Neil Gorsuch. But even without a ruling, many experts argue we should simply be taking redistricting out of the hands of politicians and give the task to independent commissions. And that's a pretty good idea. In fact, a handful of states already do some version of that. And it's not perfect. It is tough to completely remove partisan biases, a fact that one state lawmaker brought up to shoot the idea down.
If I felt there were any way in the world that I could stand before my constituents and say, I believe that it's possible to come up with a group of people who have no political bias whatsoever, who will simply sit down in a room and magically create districts, I'd be behind it. I'd be behind it 100%. But those people don't exist.
Now, if you recognise that guy, it's because you saw him about 10 minutes ago reassuring everyone that his intent in drawing districts was to gain partisan advantage for Republicans. So he's essentially arguing, nobody's unbiased, so let's use me, the most brazenly biased man in the universe. Which is pretty much arguing, no babysitter is perfect, so let's just use Slender Man. But while independent commissions might not be perfect, they would definitely be better. And the truth is, it is hard to come up with a worse system than the one most states currently have. And there is something very important at stake here. Lawmakers should not be allowed to dilute our votes by drawing their own lines and essentially picking their own voters. And you know what? I will tell you why. The foundations of democracy are built on the idea that everybody's vote should count equally. Everybody's. That is what America is all about. That every one of us should get an equal chance to make a bad decision which fucks things up for everybody else. Whoever we are, however poor our decisions, whether you are a juggalo, stop it, or a 47-year-old Quidditch player.
It's a sport!
Or someone who bought that stupid $6,000 jacket I wore on the show last week. It's horrible. Our voices should be fully heard, even if we're Scientologists, or parrot heads, or guys who ride unicycles as their primary mode of transportation. In this one context, we should all be relevant, regardless of our questionable life choices. Whether you're an EDM bro, or a guy jamming a knife into a toaster, or a Washington Redskins fan, or even a Jill Stein supporter.
She would have won.
How would she have won? What process could she have used to... The point is, her voice should count as much as anyone else's, as much as a guy in a fedora, or a baker of erotic pastries, or a SantaCon attendee, or everyone's racist grandma. Don't say anything. Because at the end of the day, that is the point of this country. That's what made America great. Because think about it. Election results should not be the fault of lawmakers' crazy lines. They should be the result of our own crazy decisions. Am I right?